everybody. The presentation is about the relationship between authentic leadership and malevolent creativity in organizations. As an introduction, I want to explain that the problem arises when organizations focus on enhancing creativity. This has been, the matter of fact, one of the most important topics in the recent studies, in the recent conversations in the organizations, where all of them are focusing on enhancing the creativity overall. But the problem is that recently the researchers have found out that not all creativity is positive. We have the dark side of creativity as well. The dark side of the creativity can be triggered when the employees feel that they have been treated unfairly, and they will start behaving well, unethically, or something we call it counterproductive work behavior, or CWBs. The equity theory actually and the organizational justice have explained this phenomenon. The problem again will be enhanced when the creativity, the dark side of the creativity of the employees, might get enhanced by novel and unethical behavior that the employees may decide to perform. So as I mentioned, the phase one is that all organizations are enhancing the creativity. Phase two is that the employees may feel, for any reason, may feel that they have been treated unfairly, and therefore they combine the creativity with that feeling of unfairness, which is the result a counterproductive work behavior that is novel and potentially can be destructive for the organization. The part of the literature review that is addressing this issue in separate sections, equity theory is explaining how individuals are adjusting their inputs and outputs regarding the organization. For example, they will say, the employee will say, well, if I put this amount of effort into the work, how much I'm receiving, and vice versa. That's called, that's basically has been explained on the equity theory. On the other hand, organizational justice is explaining how individuals perceive their organizations and react based on that. Basically, employees will say, well, if that's the justice, if I have been treated this way because I have done that, well, that relationship is a kind of a perception of justice within the mind of the employee. The other one is a leadership positive psychological capital. This theory explains how individuals can be successful, meaning that a positive attitude of the leadership, how this positive attitude actually can help the individuals to be successful in the organization. And the other part of the literature is the part that is addressing the creativity. Creativity, as I said, recently, the dark side of creativity has been defined as well, which is very interesting. Well, overall, creativity, what is the definition, is where it explains how novel ideas can help the organizations. Now, authentic leadership, which is the main topic, one of the main topics of this research, is supposed to be one of those types of leadership that could potentially reduce the dark side of creativity. The dark side of creativity is called malevolent creativity. So authentic leadership is a new phenomenon. It's a new definition. It has been brought up by Glutens and Avolio in 2003. The theory explains how authentic leaders are being described as those who are self-aware. They have a balanced processing ability of information. They have internalized moral perspectives and are transparent in their relationships. Um, Authentic leadership had a practical application as well. It's part of the positive psychological capital theory and the organizational positive moral atmosphere in a professional setting by a leader. Authentic leadership explains that how being self-aware and being ethical makes the individuals or the employees successful and happy in an organization. The application of authentic leadership has been around, well, in an individual setting, not in an organizational setting. On the other hand, creativity has been described as benevolent creativity so far, mostly. So what is benevolent creativity? It is something that we call it as novel, original, and unique ideas that are useful for the organization or for the individual. There are 5 components into it. Well, the type of benevolent creativity that we were going to measure in this research had 5 components. Benevolent creativity based on self and everyday activities, based on being scholarly, based on the performance, being mechanical and scientifically creative, and creative in art, being creative in art, actually. This has been defined as benevolent creativity. On the other hand, the dark side of the creativity is being called malevolent creativity, which is the original and novel ideas by an individual that are being used to deliberately harm others in order to gain an advantage. Again, indeed, that practice has been explained recently in the literature. 3 dimensions of malevolent creativity were measured in this study, and those 3 components were lying, hurting people, and playing tricks. The purpose of the study has been to find that if there's a relationship between authentic leadership and malevolent creativity, and also if the employees observe leadership's authenticity, the intentions of malevolent creativity would be reduced. So meaning that if there is a relationship, what type of relationship? Is it a negative correlation? Does it have a negative correlation or a positive correlation, and how much? Therefore, if authentic leadership is a predictor of malevolent creativity, that will help the managers mitigate the risk of malevolent creativity. So we'll see the model as such. Authentic leadership has a positive, hopefully a positive relationship with benevolent creativity, and will reduce malevolent creativity. There's a gap in the previous research, which is, well, we found out that authentic leadership has been considered in individual settings and not in organizational setting. Has been explained that how individuals have been able to improve their lifestyle by doing so. Also, there's no research showing that authentic leadership has an influence on malevolent creativity. And studying both benevolent creativity and malevolent creativity and their relationship with authentic leadership is missing. So in order to do the research, we sent out the questionnaires to those people who reside in the United States, are 18 years or older, directly are working under a manager, are already employed. 163 people participated in the study. And as I said, they were employees who were directly working under manager. They reside in the United States, are 18 years or older, and actually 98% of those participants completed 98 people actually completed their responses out of those 183 people. The methodology that was used for this research, the type of study actually has been quantitative and simple linear regression and t-statistics were used for statistical analysis. Random sampling was used to gather the data. As I said, the population was within the United States, and the Likert scales of 0 to 4, and 1 to 5 were used and were averaged in order to get us to a continuous variable in order to be used in simple regression analysis. So we used 4 instruments to measure authentic leadership, one for measuring benevolent creativity, or BC, one for measuring malevolent creativity, and one for and also the reliability and validity have been proven. So for measuring the authentic leadership, we used ALQ, which is Authentic Leadership Questionnaire. For measuring benevolent creativity, we used KDOX, or Kaufman Domain of Creativity Scale. For measuring malevolent creativity, we used MCBS, or Malevolent Creativity Behavior Scale. When the results were available for the demographic question, we had the first demographic question. We had this question as, which one better describes your gender? So you can see that, sorry, which one better describes your age group? 18 to 28, people who were 18 to 28 have been 25% of the participants. 30% of the participants are between 29 to 39, 27% of participants between 40 to 50, and 40% of participants between 51 to 61. Small chunk of 1.79% for 62 to 73, and less than 1% older than 31. And then for the question, what is your gender? 44% were male, and 55% identified themselves as female. Now for KDOX, the histogram of average of answers looked as such. For MCBS, which was measuring malevolent creativity, the average of the answers looked as such. Again, the scale, the Likert scale of 0 to 4 was used for this one. In order to measure authentic leadership, ALQ was used, and as you see from the histogram, again, the Likert scale of 1 to 5 was used to make the averages. When the analysis was done, we did actually 2 analyses, one based on Excel correlation analysis. The Excel correlation analysis showed a moderate negative correlation between authentic leadership and malevolent creativity, a weak positive correlation between benevolent creativity and malevolent creativity, and no correlation between benevolent creativity and authentic leadership. The part of the result that we were focusing on was the relationship between authentic leadership and malevolent creativity. The same results were approved by PSS simple linear regression analysis, which showed that there's a negative relationship between these two, meaning that the higher authentic leadership levels in a leader will reduce malevolent creativity of the follower. Well, the results show that, however, this influence, although significant, but it is very weak. As you see, the equation is as malevolent creativity equals to 1.606 minus only 0.162 multiplied by A. So that coefficient is not very huge, but still the finding is significant. So we can conclude, first of all, that, well, because there is a negative relationship between these two variables, authentic leadership will negatively influence malevolent creativity, and the result will fill the gap where there is no research actually published explaining this relationship. Therefore, managers can be trained to be authentic leaders and then therefore we can reduce the levels of malevolent creativity in the followers, and that will increase the productivity and effectiveness of organizational outcomes. Recommendations for further research. Well, in this research, we didn't take into consideration the relationship between, actually we didn't take into consideration there's several factors. One of them has been if in other countries other than the United States, the same relationship is going to happen. We just measured the relationship within the United States. Also, we didn't use all the components of malevolent creativity or MCBS as the instrument for using malevolent creativity because of IRB limitations. But if the whole instrument is being used, therefore maybe a more precise result may emerge. Also, the cultural dimensions were not taken into consideration in the study. And the other one was that what if the relationship between the manager and the follower is not direct, or let's say it's an online relationship or online work, or there's a tall organization where you have several layers of managers, and the manager at the top, let's say, is authentic, but there are several other managers in between, and those people are not authentic. So what happens in that case scenario? The study has no answers for that. And that's it. Thank you so much.